So what was your first interaction with social media at all?
It was, so I had an internship that was an SEO internship. So not quite social media, but in aspects. Yeah, that was my first internship when I was in college.
Sense now. Why because I couldn't do it. I couldn't just sit there and just be on the computer. Like, I gotta go on live, I gotta go on tour, I gotta be outside.
I wish I could be more like you.
No, you don't. Because you can't stop ever. But that's why I'm there. I just never seen somebody build such a powerful brand on social media and sell so many courses without much interaction from the person. And that's what I've always been fascinated about you. But you took an SEO class, so you're starting to understand this thing, how it works.
How to drive traffic, exactly. Yep.
What'd you learn? What's one of the things that you learned working there that still sticks with you today?
Oh, I mean, so it's interesting. The one biggest thing I learned is also probably the one biggest rule I broke that made me successful. So the one biggest rule was definitely optimizing for keywords, thinking very specifically about your audience and what they're typing in, as opposed to you saying, oh, these are my like fancy words to describe my business. So that was the one takeaway. And then how I broke that rule is that when I launched my course, I really focused on my story. I focused on what I talk about is your culture ad. Like, I'm not here to fit in. I'm here to add value. I'm a culture ad. I have a cultural advantage. So what are those things that make me different from anyone else? Because it is supply and demand. So it's like, if there's only one of something, if there's only one in the supply, the demand is going to be real high, because you can only come to me to get these set of experiences. Like, I am the authority of all these things that no one else is. And just like everyone is the authority of their own story. So you don't even need to have all the accolades, but like, I have to go to you to get like your story. So I would say that's the one rule that I broke that made me successful, was using my uniqueness as opposed to playing to what is everyone searching for. That's like, okay, that's the first level. But in order to stand out from everyone else and to have that exponential growth that I had and be that first mover, it's to create your own lane by tapping into like, what is my specific story?
Yeah. What was the big idea though?
So the big idea, so what I did first was make a list. So I made a list of all the things I knew how to do, what I had learned in my job, all my different experiences working at American Express and business, being a director of sales, like just all the things that came naturally to me. And I really have always known a lot about business, a lot about business financing working at American Express, and then a lot about sales overall. Because in my corporate job, when I started there, we had like a team of 10. And by the time the company closed down, we were about a team of 140, and I had helped that business scale to like 7 million in revenue. Yeah. So I was good at my job, like I really knew about sales and just marketing and all of that. So I said, okay, let me make this list. What can I do that I like doing that other people on the marketplace might need? So I had tried to start consulting before that, like before I, scaled my business on LinkedIn to other businesses. So those who were trying to hire me or who I was trying to apply for a job for, and like director of sales or a leadership trainer and things like that, I tried to pitch them, if they didn't want to hire me, to just bring me in for, 6 weeks at a time to develop their leadership team, right? That wasn't working. So I said, okay, let me go to a bigger market instead of just jobs at LinkedIn. And so that's how I decided to take what I knew and give it to people on the internet. I started creating content about sales. I started creating content about leadership. I started creating content about business credit. And that's what really ended up taking off,
When you say it started taking off, what do you mean?
So what's interesting is I never planned to teach people business financing and what I had learned at Amex, but I made a post one day on Instagram. This is when I had 400 followers. And I was like, here's how you build your business credit score.
Hold on. 2 years ago, you had 400 followers?
Yes, when I started in July.
Because I know
I had 300 followers.
I didn't see a big number. Hold on, because right now you're at how many?
Like 357 or something.
357,000?
Yes.
How you do that, Ellie?
Listen, and no ads, might I say. all organic
You ain't buy them
content.
little bots? You ain't buy no
No,
bots?
no bots, no ads, just real content, going live, engaging, DMs, and a lot of work.
Let me ask you, why do you think so at first, did really, really good on video. And then I started leaning, and this may be a reason why my YouTube started to kind of decline, because I started leaning into the audio, because I'm just a big believer in the audio, because you can listen to audio, and that's where a lot of the ads are coming into, these corporations, they send a lot of ad deals for the audio experience. Maybe because if someone's listening to your podcast, they didn't stumble on that. They actually went into the app, found you, hit follow, they decide to listen, right? But my audio continued to grow, but my video declined. Do you think my video declined because I was pushing audio more?
I think there could be a lot of factors. I think, we just actually had a discussion with our team, and now we have a couple really great creative minds on our podcast, on our YouTube channel. We were actually talking about Lewis Howes. Are you familiar with Lewis Howes?
I love Lewis.
School of Greatness. Yeah. His YouTube channel is blowing up.
Do you know what his deal was? He just got a deal.
With a Spotify or something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure. But what the conversation I wanted to initiate was, what does he do different between his YouTube channel and his audio channel? And there's big differences. His audio channel, you kind of have the opportunity to maybe have the hook at the beginning. You maybe have a couple ad spots. Mm-hmm. You have that conversation. It's unpacking. You maybe define who the guest is. You go through all that kind of stuff. So we watched one of his videos with Alex Hormozi, right? And the beginning of the video is just into it. It's a really broad appeal question. He had, Grant Cardone on, and he's like, so how do people, protect their wealth in recession? Boom, right into it. No intro of Grant, no sponsor spots, no anything else. And it just gets straight into the content. So I think I know this can be overwhelming for someone who's just starting or thinking about, man, it's hard enough to just sit down and record a podcast. Now I'm recording different audio, different video. Yeah. But I think you really want to contextualize it for the platform. I think that where you got to think a little bit different about YouTube, at least a little bit different, if not kind of have a different approach in terms. So we're already thinking about trimming a lot of the fluff out of our video podcast. Same episodes, and we're already desynced in terms of the numbers, meaning we're on episode 155 of our audio podcast, and we're on 300 of our YouTube channel because there's clips and there's other things happening. And are you trying to? So if you're kind of having the core content the same, I think the nuance, the people who are really going to win are going to apply the different nuances to YouTube. Is maybe trimmed down, maybe the brand spot isn't there. It gets straight into it. Even the title might be a little bit different because you are still trying to get that click-through rate versus on the audio podcast, people are just bought in, like you said. They're just they're subscribed. That's part of their RSS feed. There's some trust there. The audience retention, a lot of people make it 80%, 90% into it because they're working out. Yeah, sure. They're doing chores. They're just kind of listening. YouTube's sort of a different game. And I think you don't have to go as extreme as I just said, but I think even just a small attention to detail and the nuances of the platform could be the difference to making YouTube really work for you.
Wow. Yeah, I'm always on YouTube, and I'm looking for podcast conversation, video conversation. And believe it or not, there's not a lot of good stuff online. That's why I'm really excited about this conversation. And I think a lot of people are going to appreciate it. Wow, someone's really getting into nuts and bolts, like your multiple channels.
And this is a very significant part about the story, because Fanbase is a Black founded social media startup. And what I'm about to say is not to throw anybody under the bus, but initially my goal was to I want Black developers. Mm-hmm. I want to find, I had a Black mentor that was helping me. And in the process, that person kind of just disappeared. Mm-hmm. And then the first guy that I went to that was a Black developer was he's a little too busy to build it. And the second guys didn't have their stuff together. So my attorney Drew's I know this Argentinian guy who built a really cool website for me, and he has a company, and they build stuff for the CDC and Taco Bell. He has a development company. You need to meet him. And he lives in Atlanta, but the team is in Argentina, so it'll cost way less. If you're trying to build what you're trying to build, it'll probably cost you $600,000. You can probably get it done for $125,000, $130,000. And me and Ramiro met, and it was magic. It was boom. When I'm talking about ready to go, it was instantly chemistry, communication. It was perfect. So I paid initially that company to develop Fanbase. Gotcha. Along the way, Ramiro and his business partners have been in business for about 10 or 12 years, and they approached me and they said, hey, we want to invest in Fanbase. Like, this is the first thing we built that we feel like we ain't never heard nothing like this. This can go somewhere. And by talking to Jewel and Barry and Justin, you have to have a CTO, and people don't know that's a chief technology officer. So you have to have someone that can build what you say you want to build. So as much as I have a vision, someone has to execute that vision. There's a good book called Rocket Fuel that you should read. Andre 3000 told me to read it, but it talks about visionaries and integrators. And so I'm a visionary. I play that role. It's big ideas, close the deals. I'm that guy, but you have to have people to integrate. Yeah. And Ramiro is an integrator. So they take all the stuff that I say on my vision and make the buttons do what they're supposed to do masterfully.
Let me ask this question.
Yeah.
Why was your first thought, I want the whole team to be Black?
Because there is a disproportionate relationship between Black culture and technology. Mm-hmm. When I was reading the amount of money that companies like Facebook were making in ad revenue, $113 billion a year, $90 billion a year, right? And my point is like, has anybody ever thought the vehicle is Facebook, the vehicle is Instagram, the gasoline is youth and Black culture? Has anybody ever stopped and said, hey, like, let's take $6 billion and put it in the hood? You know what I mean? Like, let's put it in Chicago. Let's put it in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? Really, let's create like creator centers and teach kids how to code and do all this, stuff like that. And it's like, no. And so the gift and the curse of being Black is we are the apex of innovation. There's nothing cooler than a Black person on the planet. I'm telling you, it's like
nothing cooler than a Black person. That's a fact.
It's nothing cooler than Black people. Like it's impossible to market and promote anything as being cool without the assistance of Black people. It can be sentimental, romantic, adventurous, exciting, cool. You need our dances, you need our slang, you need our fashion, you need something from us that says, yeah, that's what's next and that's what's cool. And that is mined and siphoned through advertising and through companies. That is the vibranium. It's like the way that when I say a car doesn't run without gasoline, right? Mm-hmm. Social media doesn't run without the petroleum of Black culture. And we give it away for free. We just let it flow. And what happens is it is mined and used and then monetized, but nobody in the hood gets it. Yeah. So the little girl that creates the Savage Challenge, she doesn't wind up with the brand deal, winds up being Charlie D'Amelio or Addison Rae or like that. They just take it and pump it up and let them be rich, but they want you to keep continuing to do that. And that is what I say is we have to turn our innovations into acquisitions, right? We innovate at a speed and a pace that we understand. We're creating industries. I got a chance to virtually meet Grandmaster Flash about 6 months ago. And I use this all the time when I talk to people. I said, the moment that you DJ'd on 2 turntables and a mixer, someone should have pulled you to the side and said, do not show an MF of what you just showed me. Let's go figure out how to build turntables and mixers. Because everybody that does this is going to need that. Wow. Fast forward, Pioneer, Techniques, Serato, they own the multi-billion-dollar DJ culture. They own it. Everybody should be DJing on the Flash 5000 right now. He should be sitting up in some mansion worth about $20 billion because he innovated something, but you don't make it an acquisition. We do that with cars. I actually saw somebody made a joke. Somebody made a joke about the Rolls Royce star ceiling. It's like, you can have the Rolls Royce star ceilings. I was like, yo, we was doing that in Impalas. Like in the 90s, like, dog. You know what I'm saying? So we innovate everything. It's like all the luxury cars are what we were doing in the hood. Yeah. My dad had a TV refrigerator in a car in a Cadillac in the 70s. Every car has that now. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's just what we do. We just do fly shit, put Mick on the floor, just stupid. But
give me the edited version, please.
You know sorry, please. Just stupid stuff. So, we just do wild, flamboyant stuff. Yeah. And then, but that is cool. Yeah. And people want those things. And so, as a development team, I was like, we need to own it, because a lot of times we have these, these things that we build, that we sell. My prime example, and I'll use this. This is a very, very great thing that's happened with QC selling, right? Mm-hmm. They sold their label for like $250 million, right? But we also have to sometimes shoot a little higher to be like Tyler Perry, to own everything. You know, there's a difference between, I think.
So are you saying they shouldn't have sold?
No, because the reason why I'm saying that they shouldn't have sold, because they can still take that revenue and do other things with it. Like everybody that's selling their catalog, they can do. It's a business. Businesses are built to be sold. Everyone will. But I'm the kind of person that wants to take that chance to own the entire infrastructure. People look at Tyler Perry like, okay, it's like this. When most black filmmakers in Hollywood want to go make a movie, they have to walk around to a bunch of production companies and say, can I have money to make my movie? Can I have money to make my movie? Can I have money to make my movie? Tyler Perry goes in his back pocket. He writes a check for his movie, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then he goes to his studio and films the whole project on the studio. And then he puts it out on the streaming service because he owns half of BET Plus and gets $100 million a year from that deal.
Does he own half of BET Plus?
He gets $100 million a deal, $100 million a year off that deal. Yeah, on BET Plus.
Tyler the Perry.
And he licenses his content. So he took his content from TBS to Lionsgate to OWN and now to BET. He just moves it around. He never sold it. He licensed it. And so people look at Tyler Perry like, well, where do we exploit him at? Where do we get in? Where do we make money? He owns it from, inception to distribution.
And they can't get in.
And we have to do that with social media. We have to. There's never been a black founded social media startup that has achieved the level of success of an Instagram or a Facebook, but we have to do that because there's so much benefit. You're telling me right now, sitting in this room, all these people, you're telling me if Fanbase is making $113 billion a year, or when it is, that we're not going to give money to the hood?
I would hope so, for sure. All right. So Udemy, for those that don't know, it's a course platform where course creators upload their courses and you can buy them. It's a marketplace.
Exactly.
So not like a job where you put your course on there and you sell it to other people. But if you're looking for anything.
It's like an Amazon for online courses.
It's almost like the thrift store though, a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. It's a discount. It's a dollar
it was
store.
Of course, like $10 on that.
Yes.
I was like, dang.
Yes.
I bought it. But I bought the joint.
Yeah, it is. It's a marketplace.
Is that their mission?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't start out that way. But over time, we saw that people responded to the $10 deals really well. Like at first, we started running them seasonally, like in the holidays. And then the customers responded really well. And I think that's where the understanding came in that the people on Udemy or like any marketplace, these are avid learners and they don't necessarily want to fully master one thing. They want to learn about a bunch of things. Correct. So that's why the $10 price point really spoke to them. And that made like my course from scratch and like what I teach a differentiator because I'm like, nah. Course from scratch is for you if you want to master this and you want to get results. So you want implementation help. You want to launch your course, make 10,000. You want to create a framework that you could turn into a book proposal, get a 6-figure book deal from it. You could get a 5-figure speaking engagement from the same framework. You could get a corporate consulting gig for 5 figures for the same framework. Like, showing you how to actually master creating your own framework from your story and then marketing skills to launch it and make 10K and then scale it up to $1 million if you want.
Gotcha. So when you started selling what was your first course that you had and made money off of? What was that?
It was called Press Play.
Press Play.
And it helped people. It was based on my experience organizing that national tour and raising the brand sponsorships. That's what I did when I co-founded the startup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it went way back to 2010. I launched my first course in 2012.
Gotcha. Hold on. Joe, can you get this call real quick? Hold on, here you go. So your experience with your failed startup but you had enough wins in there where you can create a course on what I do know works.
Yes.
And you started selling that. How was that launch?
Oh my gosh, I did all the things. I did webinars or my version of a webinar, which is not what it is today. It was pretty bootleg, but I did my version of a webinar. I did my version of affiliates. So I would bring on like guest speakers. So I did a series of like 3 or 4 of them and I brought on guest speakers who had either like a name or an audience. And I would bring them on. I built my email list and then I did some like YouTube shows. So I had a show called Big Fish, Big Tip. And I didn't understand that was an innuendo, but I had another show.
That's a what?
Big Fish, Big Tip.
What is that?
Like big tip. What do you mean? What is it? I'm sorry. Are we?
Okay, first explain. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I'm slow. Because I didn't know what innuendo meant first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Like it's a sexual reference. And I didn't, no, but I didn't mean it to be. I didn't know.
Clickbait, eh?
I was young and naive, y'all. I didn't know what a tip was. But yeah, it was supposed to be an actual marketing tip. Like, yeah. So I did a series of like TV shows. So this is when I was broke living with my mom, and my sister, Giselle, would use my mom's flip cam. You remember flip cams?
Yeah.
She would use a flip cam and she would record me in the backyard because my mom had like a park in her backyard. So we'd go in the park and I would be like recording. We'd go down to the beach. It'd be all windy and my hair would be blown. It would and I'd be like, welcome to Big Fish, Big Tip. So I did all the things in short. Like I did all the tactics that you were supposed to do. And then I got one sale for $1,000. And it wasn't even through all those tactics. It was through an online course that I had joined and I posted in the community group. And I was like, hey, here's one of my episodes that I just did. I would love your feedback. And a girl saw my video and she DM'd me or private messaged me on Facebook and was like, you know, can you help me actually? And we got on the phone and I sold her over the phone.
From 400 followers.
300. Actually.
300 followers to 100,000 Xing.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
So, okay, you have this job, but you know this stuff about business credit because you worked in corporate America.
Exactly.
So you just decide to start putting out information that you know on social media.
Exactly. 3 times a day.
3 times a day. 3 times a day.
Every single day. Ask Carter, he knows. Everybody knows. 3 times a day.
You saw this?
3 times a day.
What?
It went live every day.
It went live every day.
Every day. 3 times a day. Every single day. No days off. Every single night for the last 18, 19 months.
What?
Yes.
So did you have a product that you were selling when you started going live? Did you say, okay, I'm just going to keep hitting the Instagram with this?
So I actually didn't develop a paid product until maybe about 4 or 5 months in. So my first 4 months, around July is when I posted my first piece of business content when I launched. I didn't, create anything for people to buy until November. And that first 4 months was all building trust. I just gave a bunch of free value. I had a bunch of free guides. I did a lot of free coaching calls, actually. So I would say, hey, if you have any questions about your business, if you want to talk to me about your strategy, if you just whatever, I'm offering free calls. And so I would do these hour-long calls for no money. But what I did was I said, okay, I'm happy to do this, but in exchange, could you please give me a video testimonial?
I like that.
And just tell me if it worked. What did you learn? Are you going to keep using these tips? Just a general review. And so when I finally did put out $47 an hour coaching calls, when I finally, I know. When I finally put a price tag on it, those testimonials are what made people pay me that $47. So that was a big deal. Like when I saw my little notification that somebody had paid me $47, I was like.
I think we just launched a second channel. It's not doing well. Just yet. It's just not. It's not. Obviously, it's going to take some time. But give me the psychology behind having multiple channels.
Yeah, so at this point, again, a lot of those other channels were projects, lessons. Right now, it's Think Media and our Think Media podcast channel. I do think if you have the resources, there maybe is something about having a separate channel for your video podcast. And that was what we originally kind of started it for, it was our podcast channel. It also was because the other channel already had a promise to it. And this is the way you should be thinking. So Think Media mainly teaches what camera should I buy for YouTube? What's the best camera for YouTube? How do I set up my lighting? How do I set up my audio? And lots of nuances, video editing software, a little bit of YouTube tips and strategies. So the expectation there, heavy tech, heavy tech reviews, tech tutorials. So we figured if we're launching a video podcast that's about kind of YouTube marketing and business strategy even more when it comes to YouTube, does that really fit the tone of the room? Does that meet the dress code of Think Media? And that's the original way we thought. No, it doesn't. Plus, we want to start fresh, and we want to also diversify our audience and get people who are truly passionate. One of the experts on our team, Omar Al-Takori, he's like the top ranking guy for video podcasts. He has like 20 video podcast videos on YouTube. And he talks about, it also is audience expectation. Think Media had been expecting camera videos, camera tutorials. And if all of a sudden we start hitting them with 30, 45-minute episodes about not exactly what they want, again, we sort of violated the trust for which they subscribed for. We could force it, and they could choose not to watch it, but we didn't want to murk up the channel in that regard. So once we start we literally also have podcast in the title. So the second channel is called Think Media Podcast. Not everyone is going to make an association of what that means, but many will. They'll go, okay, so this isn't trying to just be right to it, hyper edited, entertaining. This is longer form conversations. And so that was the original reasoning for starting it. And then it also gave us a place for where our shows would live. We don't really have shows on Think Media. It's answering specific questions, reviewing specific products, teaching specific skills. Whereas what evolved on our podcast channel was not just our weekly podcast, but Heather Torres on the team started the YouTube Made Simple show. And I started the Coffee with Cannell show, which don't go on podcasts. They're just live stream shows. And then what really gets interesting is how we slice and dice all this stuff and just post it wherever. So we might do a great, I did a recent episode on like courage on YouTube secrets. It's the first C. And the podcast version's like 18 minutes. Well, if you really want to make a great YouTube video out of that, you could probably get it down to 11, maybe 9 with a good editor. And because I'm not greeting the podcast, I'm not saying welcome back, I'm not saying leave a review of the book, trim all that out. So what's interesting is there's like the podcast episode recorded, but we almost can use that same asset now, turn it into a Think Media version, strip all call to actions out, get straight to the point, and we'll get, 11,000, 10,000 views on the podcast. We'll get 55,000 on Think Media. And that's where we're at, because that has more momentum. It's a bigger channel. But like the level this holiday, we're going to upload like our best of. We'll upload like 5. We'll upload, Lewis Howes and Evan Carmichael. Their best performing videos are 2 to 3 hours long.
Got it.
And then they tell you so then this is how they trick you. So then they say, well, to get higher in the algorithm, post more content. But by posting more content, all that does is give them more content to run ads in between. So you're giving them space to run more ads to make more money. And they're telling you do that because it'll make the algorithm and you'll get higher. And
But do they boost the algorithm so that we have that result of posting more? Because you post more if you get more engagement, right? So are they shooting?
No, they just nullified all that yesterday. They just proved all that was some BS. They said, oh, we're starting Meta Verified. Did you hear about that? Yeah, Meta Verified. You can buy your blue check now, but it also comes with higher visibility, higher ranking in search.
Yes.
That means your content was never reaching nobody. They was lying to you the whole time.
Right. Okay, I see.
You have to listen to what they're not saying as opposed to what they're saying.
Yeah.
They're telling you like, oh yeah, reach more people and get higher visibility. Fam, if I have 200 million people that want to see me and you're only showing me to 7 million people, you're playing with my money. You're playing with my reach. You're playing with my audience. I have a product to sell. I have a message to get out. You're playing with them. Or why am I here?
So when you buy the verification, are they going to let everyone be verified?
Anybody that pays $11.99 a month, which again is a subscription, and we'll get to subscriptions in a minute.
100%. But I wonder if the paid verification will look different somehow than the celebrity verification.
So I'll say this, probably so. And if so, it's because of Fanbase. So I'm gonna just say this. When I built Fanbase, I said, you know what we need? I told Ramiro, I said, for people that work at Fanbase or really early investors, we need a gold verification badge. So there's the blue, but then we got the gold.
Right.
Like high executives, high level investors, very important people, right? As soon as Elon took over Twitter, if you go to Twitter right now, all the Twitter accounts have gold verification checks now. And all they're gonna do is get everybody, what they're gonna do is they're gonna let everybody use Meta Verified, and they're gonna switch that check. They're gonna switch the color and add another level.
Really? Hold on. On Twitter, there's gold verification.
Go to Twitter right now. Just go to Twitter and then start and type in the search and start Twitter. And all the official Twitter accounts will have gold verification badges.
Well, the only person I really follow, I do follow Elon.
No, he won't. He doesn't have one.
And I only follow a few people because it started getting too crazy, and I got kids, and if you go on Twitter, if somebody likes something like I'm talking about, it's porn on that joint.
It's inundated with porn. I don't know how it stays on the App Store.
Yeah, I only follow 6 people, bro. The people that I know ain't looking at that.
No, but just take a look at this. Look at these accounts. So see Twitter. See how it has a gold check mark?
Oh,
right?
Gold check.
Right.
Michael Jackson blue check.
Yeah, but I mean for official accounts, right? Now let me show you. So on Fanbase,
Michael Jackson blue. You got it.
So on Fanbase, when you search for users, I've always had that. Yeah, I've had this since like 2018, 2019.
And that's for people that were on early.
Yeah, or
investors.
people that work for the company. So you know, like, oh, this is an employee, like a high-level executive of Fanbase. So Rama, who's my CTO, the official Fanbase page, Dre works for Fanbase. So you'll know, okay, those are people like, okay, I know who that is.
Gotcha. You start to understand search engine optimization there, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
And how did you take that into Instagram? Because it's not the same.
It's not. So what I'll say is I didn't necessarily take it into Instagram. It did help me with Instagram ads a little bit, but to be honest, it just gave me a healthy foundation and understanding of the architecture that is the internet. Like, where are the channels where we can get traffic, and how does the algorithm decide what to rank higher than the other thing? So it gave me at least a foundational understanding. And once you get the foundational understanding, that's a great place to be to make up your own rules or, imagine things. So what I would say is the next step from there, it gave me the foundation to then, when I worked at Udemy, I knew about SEO. I knew about that channel of organic marketing. And so then while I was at Udemy, my boss was brilliant. He's amazing. And I got to learn from him. And that's where I learned about data analytics. I couldn't learn SQL for the life of me though. Have you tried to learn SQL? I know. Yeah.
I tried to learn. I don't even know what SQL is. Like, what are you talking about?
That's where my line was like, I could do a pivot table, but SQL. But yeah, so that's where I learned to like track the data because I was responsible for coaching. I essentially did what I do now. Like I would coach individuals who were launching their courses, and I would help them determine how should you brand it, how are you going to grow your audience, what should you title your course, what should you price it at, and how do you get a 10K launch, even if you don't have an audience. So because I had like the foundational knowledge, I could help advise them on these are keywords you should include in your course title so you can rank on Udemy's platform, right? Because Udemy is like an Amazon. It's a big old search engine for online courses.
Oh, wow.
So I could use that SEO knowledge to advise them, use these keywords because you'll rank higher, and though add your specific twist. What is your culture add? What are those few things, that one, result that you're going to add to make yourself stand out? So I was able to better advise them when I was there because of that.
So then my first product was my business credit ebook, and it was $15.
$15.
Yeah.
I'd imagine you sold a buttload of them joints.
I mean, at that time I had maybe 4,000 followers, so I had started to grow. But in that first, kind of like month or two of selling, I think I made 10K. So not huge, but
that's exciting.
Yeah. Coming from not making any money, I was like, wow, this is really possible. So when I started to see that it was possible, it's just, I was like, foot on the gas. I only talk about business credit, I want to say, for like a full year.
Dang. So that works to grow a following? It's not too much.
What?
Like 3 times a day? You ain't go live?
No, because the way I saw it was I knew what my work ethic was when I was in corporate America, and I knew how hard I would go for my boss. So I felt like, why would I not go this hard for myself and my kids? And the way I saw it, Instagram, there's billions of people posting every day on the platform. So if I want the opportunity to even get noticed by a small percentage of them, I have to show up all the time. Like you have to see me in the morning when you get up, in the afternoon when you're on your lunch break, and at night before you eat dinner and go to bed. That was my philosophy. And so that's why I showed up every single day. When I started going live, I would do maybe twice a day if I had the energy, once a day, but it would always, I wanted my audience to know that they could trust me. I wanted them to know that even though I was a mother with 4 kids, because you could see my kids in the background, at this point, I'm living at my mom's house, right? I felt like the best way for me to really show them that I was, reputable and that I knew what I was talking about was to show up consistently, answer every single question, because I knew I had the answer. I was never afraid that someone would ask me something I didn't know, because I also only taught on things that I knew. I wasn't going to go out here and say, here's how you start wholesaling or flipping real estate. And I've never done that, right? Yeah. So I said, if I can show up consistently in my lane, then I can own this lane.
And so I'm excited because in going into Christmas week, which Christmas hits on a weekend this year, but going into like the holidays, everyone's shut down. We'll have 5 scheduled uploads, all repurposed content. And one of the videos we'll upload on Think Media, since that's technically
5 over the weekend total.
We actually will go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Christmas,
Gotcha.
I think, is Saturday, and or Christmas Eve is Saturday. Christmas is Sunday. But like, call it that week. Everyone's shut down that week. Right. No one's uploading that week. We'll upload 5 videos, but they'll all have been edited probably like weeks earlier, and they will be what we call content marathons. And one of those, we'll just take like our 5 best video podcast episodes, stitch them all together, throw some what a lot of times Omar and Heather will put on like Christmas sweaters and like host a telethon. You'd think like, would anyone want to watch this? Like, well, people, they're at home, they don't want to hang out with their family. Like, Uncle Larry's weird, dude. You know what I mean? And so they go in their room, they're like, no one's uploading. Like, everyone's on Christmas break. And then like, oh, cool, Think Media. Like, I'm gonna turn this on. And so what's wild is actually those typically perform really well. But
I'm sorry, when you say 5 videos, are you saying like super long videos?
Yeah,
like how long?
The podcast is 25 minutes long times 5. It'll be a 2-hour content marathon.
Oh, so you're saying, goodness gracious. So you're saying 5 2-hour videos every day.
Yeah.
I mean,
there'll be
1 2-hour video every day for like 5 days.
Yeah. So what we did a couple years ago and it crushed. We do office tours. So because we all work from home, so it's like Omar's office tour, Heather's office tour, Sean's office tour, 3 separate videos. During the holidays, we stitch them all together. Same uploads on YouTube, all stitched together. That did better than they did individually. And then we host them. So there's like some strategy to it. There's like a hook, like, hey, are you looking for some inspiration for your office? You're going to see different styles. And you have, you got literally different styles. You have, kind of, it's not really like shabby chic, but that's just the word that comes to mind for like Heather. You kind of have that female, whatever. So, and then we time code it out. People can skip around. And the average view duration of this is only like 12 minutes of the hour and 10 minutes that the video is. But 12 minutes is like triple the average on YouTube. Like the average view duration of a video on YouTube is around 4 to 5 minutes. So if you're holding people's attention as they skip through this video for 12, YouTube rewards that video like crazy. A lot of times we'll get 20 to 30 to 40,000 views on a video. I think that video got 125,000 views. And we done all this work during the year. We just put them into buckets basically. So we combined office tour videos. You could combine interviews. And we also think about like, we just group things like microphones, like the ultimate microphone video. And the fact is there's shotgun microphones, there's USB microphones, podcast microphones.
So you're taking all the ones you already did and just putting them together.
That right there, man, was worth people showing up for the podcast today. I mean, that's
yo, somebody take all of like the women and like, let's put something together, like all of the women and then like all of the financial experts. Just remind me that we're going to do that. Okay.
And
seriously, send me a text of that actually.
And that's what Lewis will do is he'll group, because he has such a backlog of interviews. He'll group his interviews into topics.
It's up.
So he'll go like, 7 wealth building tips, for getting rich or something like that. And he's had Robert Kiyosaki on and like, someone else about money mindset. And so he'll cluster those things together. So of course the strategy working, it happens on the other side of publishing a lot of great content. But I would advocate heavily that people are not repurposing and reusing anywhere near enough and not very intelligently, because this content is assets. And the myth is people go, yeah, well, what if someone's like in the comments and they go, you already uploaded this, or someone complains and says, man, you're just getting repetitive on the channel. And it's like, 1, I have seen that comment twice. 2, it was 2 comments on a 22,000 viewed video with 2,000 likes. 3, Ricky is living in his mom's basement. Dude, don't watch the video, bro. If you already saw it, like, it's going to be okay. Like, this is, think about, and where we got the term
unbelievable
content marathon was, you know, once you take that show like The Walking Dead or something, like any show, Simpsons, like they do marathons. So the shows have already come out, but you can watch them all in one, you know, sequence all together. And guess what your option is? Oh, I already watched them. I don't want to watch the marathon. Like, it's going to be all right, bro. But the other fact is people are also just discovering it, or repetition is the father of learning and the mother of mastery. It's like, I want to watch it again. And there's so much noise in the world and online, and there's so much competition. People also forget. So they don't even know they've watched it before.
That's a fact.
And so, yeah, this is a really slept on strategy because I think you can get a lot more longevity out of your content. And with all the new subscribers you're getting, if you combine, you know, some of your best stuff, then the new upload may do better than it previously did.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. So I went to this class, not a class, it was a conference on like growing with video. And I realized that my thumbnails are too small. And I mean, I need to make a bunch of tweaks.
Okay.
But that's kind of me playing into the algorithm or the SEO on YouTube. Do you not advise that?
Oh, yeah. So I do believe in best practices, and I believe in our instincts. So if you have a marketer's...
Dang, that just sat in my spirit. You said best practices and instincts.
Yes.
Dang, that's good. And sometimes you have an instinct about something that isn't necessarily the best practice, but you just feel something. And I guess at that point determines kind of like how successful you'll be, especially if you've done enough research. Okay, so just talk to me about what I'm trying to talk to you about right now.
Yeah. Oh.
Because it's mad stuff going on through my head, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm actually looking for coaching right now.
Oh. I love it. All right, so I'm supposed to ask you a clarifying question, all that, right? So I mean, in that case with the thumbnails, what I would say is, first of all, what are the results you're getting? Because it's one thing for someone to tell you, here's a best practice, your thumbnails are too small. However, if you, as David Shands, are killing it and you're getting the click-throughs that where the data says, we love your thumbnails, like this is working, then your thumbnails ain't too small.
It wasn't.
Okay.
I just learned the click-through rate thing. I thought it just came up with a cool title. When my guy, he made the thumbnail, I was like, ooh, that's hard. Let's do it. And I put it on there. And
you're like, ooh, where everybody at? Where the clicks at? Yeah. So that's so then you ask yourself about the litmus test. So everything has a litmus test. How do we know if this is working or not working? And you want to look at the piece of data closest to what the asset is. In this case, the asset is the thumbnail. What's the piece of data closest to it? The click-through rate. The click-through rate is what, like, people see the thumbnail, are they clicking it? So that is our litmus test. Is this working or not?
Got it.
So when you look at the CTR, if you're like, oh yeah, this ain't given, then most likely maybe the thumbnail is too small.
Gotcha. Having multiple streams of income can be damaging. And probably, if you had less streams of income, you'd probably make more money, even though you make good money right now. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that, someone once told me sometimes the many can keep you from the money. Right? Like that?
That's a bar.
I know. When it was told to me.
Okay.
Yeah, when it was told to me, I was like, oh, it just shook me a little bit. The many can keep you from the money. So there could be some truth to that. But I think there's a difference between having multiple streams of income and having multiple businesses. I think that when you have multiple businesses, it takes you away from your focus. But when you create different income pathways that are self-managed or systematized, you just have a bunch of passive income. And that's really what I want to show entrepreneurs they can do, is you can have your one main business and have your business credit and really focus on that, but leverage some of that to put a couple vending machines somewhere or buy some property so that you are still always diversifying. Because whether you have a job or a business, one income is still too close to none, and you'll lose it.
All right. So I want to, because I know the people that are like your brand new content creators and like it's blowing your mind, because we're going to figure out how you got to be this YouTube king in this space to understand it all. But I do have to touch on one thing. You saw Mr. Beast, he got offered $1 billion for his portfolio, but he turned it down, had the audacity to say, I want 10 billion.
Yes.
Who does he think he is? And his answer will probably be Mr. Beast. What is your thought on this? Like, give me just your whole conversation around.
Oh, I think he's absolutely right. I don't think it was audacity.
Yeah.
I think
he is Mr. Beast.
I don't even think it was overconfidence. I think that was humility. Yeah. It's probably worth more than 10 million, 10 billion. For sure. I think that was definitely worth, I mean, like, I think he's understanding what his catalogs were. I don't know what the terms of the deal was too, because is it just like his back catalog? No, it probably was, when you get bought out, they buy you usually for a couple of years and you have to keep things going. So, I mean, I think what's cool about it is actually, a lot of people feel like as small creators, they feel, and they look at a Mr. Beast, that there's this huge, massive gap. But that was a win for the entire creator economy.
100%.
Whether you're just starting or whether you have more influence, I think it just shows how much pull and weight, and Mr. Beast is paving the way for creators to be able to say, no, do you understand? We are the ones that actually have the influence right now. Yeah. Like macro influencer marketing and micro influencer marketing, channels with around 5,000 subscribers or followers, is a better ROI for advertising dollars than banner ads, than billboards, than television commercials. And so the world is still asleep, I think, to the creator economy and to influencers and to content entrepreneurs. Yeah. So I think that kind of headline is just a good thing to actually show the kind of depth that creators like you are building. Yeah. And I think that a lot of creators are still valuing themselves, while most 100%. Maybe have the mindset to take it. And of course, I mean, respective of,
I'd have taken it.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know what? I don't know if I'd have taken it if I'm where he is right now, because it's not like he's any short of money. Like if somebody's going to offer you $1 billion, you probably have something substantial.
And again, he might be a little bit short of money. Like the way he runs his business is he runs it on the bleeding edge, and he's been very articulate about this.
What do you mean?
He just reinvests everything, every dollar for dollar. And they're so pedal to the metal. They're like always running out of money. I mean, the levels of studio he's building, the levels of production. I think even when you break down the Squid Game video, I think it lost money. By the time you even had the brand deal and the AdSense, it cost like $3-4 million to make the video, and it made like $3 million. I think that video maybe lost $1 million. Of course, do your own research, but he really broke down all those numbers. So,
yo, hold on, bro. Hold on. You said he's spending $3-4 million to make videos?
That Squid Game video was like $4 million or something like that.
Yeah, people spend that on movies.
Yeah. I mean, he had 20 editors and CGI graphics and all that. And that video was extraordinary. Now,
I didn't see it. I need to go see it.
Now, but then you go the long tail, and his whole catalog pumps out so much cash.
Yeah.
And his videos keep making money. And that video also will keep making money. It'll probably be ROI positive eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
That kind of thing. But all that to say is there's also, as kind of a side note, there's these companies that are paying YouTubers for their back catalogs, like Spotter. And I know Mr. Beast works with some of those companies. And so they essentially, not anything going forward, but they give you a one lump sum of money for your content from the past until now for like a 3-year contract. But these companies are paying like $1 million checks or multi-million-dollar checks.
Oh,
and just
wow.
Smaller creators will pay like $100,000 and maybe your catalog's not that big. So one of my friends is like a yoga creator, and they got offered, I don't know if they signed it, but they got offered like $80,000, and they were not even super active. They just had this back library of videos. And what Spotter is doing is they are then going to bypass the YouTube ad revenue system and run their own ads with their own CPM that they're going to sell at their own terms. And they're taking a level of risk, and obviously they got to win. So they clearly think they're going to make more than they're paying you. But the point of it upfront capital. My friend Anthony O'Neill and I were talking all about this, and he was saying, I've been getting offered this and that for my back catalog. And my question to him was, well, do you need the money? Because, and Mr. Beast has done this, I'm not sure the exact details, but his mentality is get cash, reinvest, scale, and keep pushing it right to that bleeding line, as opposed to, he's not trying to exit. He's super young. I think he's single.
He's outside.
Yeah, he's not trying. He's like 10 is what I would take now. I'm taking this thing to 100 billion. I think he wants to build the next album. He wants to be a $1 trillion company or something. I mean, so that's his level of thinking. But all that to say is knowing your worth, thinking about what's your catalog worth.
No one's offering me any money for my back catalog.
You actually, you could, you may not have hit their radar, but there's like 3 or 4 5 different competitors. I probably wouldn't recommend doing it because if you're able to generate cash, it's a risk. Of course, they're hoping they win. They might lose, but over 3 years' time. And then it's, what do you plan on doing in 3 years' time in terms of how that activates your back catalog? Yeah,
I don't always want to go to the club, but I want somebody to invite me.
Yeah.
I don't ever go, but I want the invitation. I want somebody to try to, because then it's cool content. Somebody offer me some money for my back catalog. Yeah. Somebody offer you money for your back catalog?
We talked about it at VidCon. Yeah, VidCon this year. I spoke at VidCon. That's when I met those guys. And so, but I haven't really pursued it. Yeah.
Okay.
Got some business cards and stuff, and we should talk and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, I think it's worth considering. But again, future is forward. It's like, kind of how much self-confidence do you have or belief?
So you're saying you don't run ads, but that doesn't necessarily ruin the experience. It seems like at some point Fanbase will run ads.
But here's the thing. If I run ads, I have to compete with you. Where's the value? As soon as I start running ads, I'm in competition with you. Why would they run ads with me? They were like, oh, I can just run ads on one of the famous people on Fanbase. There are other things that we can do. I just wanted something free that people could say, look, I can, and I say I can start my web series like Awkward Black Girl and take it all the way to Insecure on Fanbase from the very beginning. So it can start out with, oh, we had 100 subscribers. In season 2, we got 5,000 subscribers. In season 3, we got 300,000 subscribers. Now we done went and bought a little studio and we got to sit and I can pay, we got cameras and everything. We done blown this thing up now. And it just keeps going. When I tell people the amount of money that's going to be made, right? And I can hypothesize, right? And show you like, The Rock has, I think it's like 360 million followers on social media, right? But that's not his fan base. Think about this. 5% of the people that follow you are your fan base. The other 95% of people that follow you passively, like a magazine at a grocery store. They're nosy or they're haters, right? The other 5% is your fan base. Because if that was the case, every time Beyonce drop an album, she sell 200 million copies. No, she ain't selling 200 million copies. It's like she's got, the Beehive is like 14 million people worldwide. They go see your shows, buy her products and stuff like that. So The Rock has about 18,500,000 people, right? That follow him on, that are his fan base of that 360, right? So let's hypothesize real quick to say.
Brother, you know these numbers. Give him a round of applause. You know these numbers. I'll tell you. Them stats, being smart about your business. Golly, this is impressive.
So let's hypothesize that The Rock says, I'm going to charge $14.99 a month to subscribe directly to me on Fanbase for content, me working out, stuff that I'm working on with my movies, whatever. And he takes half that revenue. Apple and Google take 30%. We take 20 and give 50 to the user. That's right in line with YouTube. YouTube Shorts actually takes 55% of the revenue. You get 45. Twitch is 50-50. And TikTok pays about 2 to 4 cents per 1,000 views. Okay. So let's just say he'd make $77.50 a subscriber, right? So we'll just take that number. This is what he would make a month.
138 million.
Right. And this is what he would make a year.
1.6 billion.
And what I'm saying is, no matter what any of us do, that is about to happen. Because there's nothing, what's always so crazy about this is social media is a psychological masterclass on behavior patterns, right? Because I've been studying this for years, right? And this is what I mean. Is anybody familiar with OnlyFans? Everybody familiar with OnlyFans? Okay.
No, I'm married, brother.
It doesn't matter. It's still market research.
Never heard of it.
It's still market research. So let me explain something to you. The very first time that I saw OnlyFans, I was like, yo, the strip club industry is dead. It's over. It's finished. You're telling me as a stripper that I don't have to stay up till 4 a.m. in a smoke-filled club with strange men grabbing all over my body, and I might walk out of there with $1,200 when I can sit in my house and make 1,000 times the money and never see anybody. But yet, today, women are getting up right now to get ready to go to the strip club and strip. Because it's just what they know.
Yeah.
But there are a few women that I know that left and did OnlyFans, and they're millionaires. They're like, oh yeah, I'm out of here. They're gone. They're making millions on OnlyFans. Because the world is your store.
Yeah.
There's nothing that stops, and I'll just show you so you see. There's nothing that stops. There's nothing that can stop this. Let me show you what I mean by nothing's gonna stop this. You see this user right here? So she has a page, right? So I want you to see how fast.
Show the camera. Show that camera right there.
Oh, see if you guys can see it, but
this one right here. Let
me turn my brightness down a little bit. But let me go back. So if you see this, right, to subscribe to a user, I hit that button, and then I hit this button again, and then boom, a thing comes up, and I subscribe to that user for $4.99 a month or whatever. That's it. That's everybody on the planet. So the ability for everybody on the planet to receive revenue that fast. So when
crazy.
Taylor Swift sells 2 million tickets in an hour on Ticketmaster, she can have 2 million subscribers in an hour that pay her month over month. No one's ever gone really viral. But my point is, it keeps happening, and I'd be like, y'all don't get this? Like when Bad Baby said she made $50 million on OnlyFans in a year, y'all didn't just drop what y'all were doing and be like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, if we can do that, and she made that money, that's real money that she made.
Yeah.
That's more money than Cardi, Lotto, Nicki, Megan, Doja. And the first thing that I did is went to her OnlyFans to subscribe. Real talk.
How was it?
It was 160. No, listen. It was 160 pieces of content. She was in primarily bikinis and lingerie, and no video was longer than 10 seconds. Of 160 pieces of content, she made $50 million. And I had this conversation, and I'll say this to anybody that's listening right now that hears this. If you do not start monetizing your content via subscription today, 5 years from now, you're going to be out-earned by someone that is less talented than you are that simply decided to do so. It is not about the talent. It's about simply doing it. I've sat with comedians. I'm not going to name the names, but I've sat with comedians that are doing shows, $30 ticket shows in Atlanta Comedy Theater, and I show them this comedian named Tim Dillon who has a podcast, and Tim Dillon's making like $212,000 a month of like 30,000 people. And they're like, I'm funnier than Tim Dillon. Yeah, but he's bringing in $2.4 million a year and you don't even know who he is because he's doing it off subscription. You're driving city to city in a van. He's shooting comedy specials and streaming them, and the audience, the money comes to him. He doesn't have to leave.
Oh my gosh. I'm launching a Patreon this month.
You shouldn't.
No?
No, you should launch a fan base.
I'm on Fanbase.
No, but you should utilize, what I mean by that is, you should, see, Patreon is not a social network. It's a content house. Once you go to Patreon and see your content, what else is there to do on Patreon?
Nothing.
Exactly. But people can come to subscribe to your content on Fanbase or be there for somebody else and discover you and then subscribe to you there. So it's the best of both worlds. It's the audience you bring and the audience that happens upon you.
Well, obviously, Instagram stole that from you. They have subscribers, but it's only like your stories, I suppose. Or now you could do.
No, you can post.
Yeah.
But again, what difference does it make if your content's not being seen by everybody? We don't suppress content. Meaning, if you have 100 million followers on Fanbase and you post a piece of content, we're putting it on 100 million people's timelines. They might not see it all at the same time. They might see it like within a week, but we're not suppressing your content to run ads. That's the advantage.
Got it. Okay. Dang, that's brilliant. So 3 a day and live.
Yeah.
Every day for the last 2 years or so.
2 years. Even on weekends. I know. Sometimes on weekends it's like 1 a day or 2. But for the most part, and I've kept all my posts on my page. I don't really archive anything.
That's how many you got.
Yeah. So I really want, and I do that because I want people to scroll back to July. I want people to scroll back to when you see me going live and my kids are asking me for snacks and I'm holding the baby and it's getting a little crazy. But I keep all that because to me, it's important that people see the journey. And, you know, I coach a lot of women specifically as in my audience who are mothers, and I want them to see yes, there are days when it's going to be hard, but there's no excuse. You know, there's no reason not to. You might cry. You might have your days where it's very challenging to show up, but it's always worth it to show up. And you always can. I mean, I think that social media has created unprecedented access. I would have never been able to do this 20 years ago or 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, you know, to literally be at home unemployed, but use a stimulus check and just decide to show up every single day on my area of expertise and make $1 million.
That's crazy
Like,
because
yeah,
it's free to show up.
it's free to show up. It's free to show up.
I think you really cracked the code. And I think, and there are some people that are not hitting their goal, including myself, that I think if I were to like really show up more, I would reach higher levels of success.
I think you would
But
too.
for some reason, I'm not showing up.
I mean, is it timing? What is it? Why?
Maybe timing, comfortability.
I was going to say, are you comfortable?
Being lackadaisical.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a big thing because after I made my first $1 million, you know, 10 months later, I thought about.
Yo, hold on.
Right, I just scoot that in there real calm.
Because I was trying for years to make my first $1 million in a year. I'm talking about years.
Yeah.
So I left my job in 2012.
Oh, you left. Okay.
2012. Yeah. I mean, I left like making a couple dollars. It wasn't even crazy.
Yeah.
But 2012, I replaced my Cheesecake Factory income.
Love it.
I was a server.
Favorite restaurant.
You know what I mean? So 10 months.
10 months.
You make $1 million.
1.3.
How you do that?
Literally creating content.
That was no $47 ebook. I'm
telling you, I raised my prices.
$47 coaching, $15 ebook.
So eventually I had raised my prices a bit, but at that point, my highest offer was $100. I think at then my business I mean, I was not playing. I'll say it that way. I was not playing.
If you like the video that you just watched, click this one. You're going to like this one, maybe even more. Click it right now.